gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for August 5th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, a global market crash is happening, but that is okay because Zelda rides a cute horse. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's TurboShawn McDowell. Sean, how are you doing?
Being exposed to too much natural light here. I gotta figure out a situation with all this.
Gotta get those blackout curtains back up there. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Pale over here, and then it's backwards.
I lived in an apartment townhouse sort of thing, but either way, I was renting it, and I had my room was too bright, so I put up like tie-dye like blankets, and it was up for a day before the landlord was like, "No way, you can't have that." I'm like, "Really? Okay." I mean,
you can't project to the world that you're a stoner.
Exactly. You can't just let them know. Can't just let them know about it. I was like, all right, whatever, I'll take them down. Yeah, how you doing, Sean? I had a good weekend of SummerSlam, but I'm more curious about what you did. How was your stuff?
Dick all, just
hell yeah,
getting caught up on chores.
Sounds good too.
It's the thing where my little trip a few weeks back then set me back for the following week, which we had a busy week here at GB, and then sent me back the following week, and so I'm still kind of just getting caught up on all that. So very uneventful weekend, but I had tacos last night, and that's always a good time.
Ooh, that's a good time. That's absolutely. When we were at SummerSlam, actually, Steph and my mother-in-law took the kids to like go do some back to school shopping, and then they went to our little. Like the closest restaurant to us is a really nice little Mexican restaurant. They went there and had a good time. I'm like, oh, I'm jealous. I would have liked that. SummerSlam was fun. We'll find a place to talk about it on the website somewhere. But
only we had a show about wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to look into that. See if it's even possible. I don't know if they allow that on the internet, FCC rules and all that. I had Dan in my basement. He stayed here all weekend. It was nice. He was a good guest. I'll say. Two things. Apparently, while I was doing something, Mike and Dan had like measured their heads and like had Steph like weigh in on it. And she's like, "What is this? What you guys do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, pretty much. This is pretty much what we do." And then she saw Mike's toothbrush in the bathroom. She's like, "What is wrong with that thing? It is so beaten up. It's like so." I'm like, "Yeah, I think he said that one.
Never replace it."
Yeah, I don't think he's ever replaced it. I'm gonna have to buy him a new toothbrush. I'm just like,
the head measuring thing, how Dan got jisms on your Atari hat?
Listen, we don't talk about how he got jisms on my Atari hat. That was a Papa John Ranch cup that just exploded when he opened it. Now, that's what Dan said. Mike says, no, Dan just did a bad job. He just did a bad job, and that's what happened there. I was upstairs getting paper plates, I think, and I came back down, and my Atari speaker hat was defiled. It was.
Yeah, Chad, if you haven't seen that picture from, I think it was Mike who posted on Twitter. It's just like a no context. Yeah, Dan got some stuff on Jeff's hat.
Yeah. It's like Chad saying, hey, do a thorough examination. Dan could have left something. Yeah, I think he was mostly trying to be a good guest because like he knows that like Steph's here and stuff like that. He didn't want to like overstep any bounds like that way. We did try a couple things with Mike. He bought a pile of really crappy DVDs for $1 each when we went to the exchange.
And I got the Duck Dynasty.
The Duck Dynasty, that was one of them. Yes, exactly. We were going to sneak those into his car, but we didn't take his car, so instead we just had to hand it to him. And then we did talk briefly. It's like it's kind of far away. Maybe we could talk about going over to Mike's house and leaving the smell-o-vision, the game scent in his house, but we haven't made that happen yet. But we're getting closer.
Okay.
Plans are formulating.
Plotting against him.
We also did pick Mike's Blight Club game. So if I beat Daikatana this week, we'll very quickly hop into that pretty soon. Maybe not right away. We might do a Delight Club in between real quick, just to have a little bit of a buffer, depending on when things arrive for Mike. But
you think they deserve that, Jeff?
Yeah. Wait, what the hell? Wait, did I plug the...
Did you... You fool! You absolute fool! You needed to put that in the garage. You need to bury it. You need to exercise it from your house. Why?
I was like, did I plug it in? Oh, wait, maybe someone was here and plugged the game set in.
Yes. That was gonna be my question when you talked about it. I was like, are you sure he didn't like mess with the game set?
It's right there. And hey, they're all going off.
Hi,
Look
Dan.
at that. Good morning, Dan. Absolutely. I don't know how that didn't even occur to me. There went again. It didn't even occur to me that would happen.
Man.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm going to go get a fucking gun and shoot this thing. We should explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together while just completely basking in synths. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have plenty to get into, so let's start the morning mess with quick catch up from last week. I was out on Friday. It seemed like a lot happened. There was the Circana report, and there was Nintendo's earnings. Just a quick touch in on those things. I glanced at the Circana report. Hardware sales kind of down the way they have been, where we're down 37% overall. Mostly that's the Switch, but all three systems once again are down year over year in the United States. With actually the PlayStation 5 being the second most, and then I think the Xbox was down 18% or something like that.
Okay.
And then Elden Ring topped the software charts, and then something like Luigi's Mansion 2 HD was number 8 on there or something like that. This is a slightly delayed Circana report, so I think these results are mostly from June and a little bit of early July, so it doesn't have stuff like college football in there or anything like that. I was like, okay, we should kind of expect things to really pick up here. But now, with the report of hey, the stock market is kind of collapsing a little bit right now, down in a big way across the board. People could get spooked and stop spending as much money on games once again. So I don't know, kind of coming out of June into July, and then into August, and now we're at a point where it's Madden's going to be here. A bunch of games are going to start coming out. There's no guarantee that suddenly things are going to be great across the board. I don't know how you feel about game sales. Yeah.
Well, with hardware specifically, I was actually going to say that we are approaching. We're not necessarily there with the Switch, especially. We are rapidly approaching, but we're approaching the point of saturation with all those systems.
Yes,
and I think even we've talked about this on this show before. Of just you can only sell so many consoles, and so just it tapers off over time. And if Dan is having some fun over there.
Oh yeah, he is, and also the ghost of Jason Finelli is back as well. So, yeah, so we're getting from all sides over here right now. Yeah.
So, anyways, leading into the Switch 2, and then we still got the rumors of PS5 Pro coming up here. Yeah, it makes sense for hardware to be down at least. Yeah,
exactly. I think what happens, or what is happening a little bit, is traditionally for a console generation, I think the expectation for this point is, no, they should still be growing. They should still be selling faster. But I think we're just not taking into account that these things launched in 2020, and they had 3 years of people spending more on games than they normally would have, people rushing out to get consoles a little bit quicker than they would have. So it just feels like it might be, if you average it out, the same bell curve, but it might have just shifted a little bit earlier into the generation is kind of the sense I'm getting. And this could also just be a hiccup in that bell curve where once we do get to next year and we do get to stuff like GTA 6, people are like, okay, I'm back in. I'm spending money on games.
Yeah,
again.
That's probably going to be the one. And it's not just because, because it's GTA. It's what all that means for the people who are still playing GTA Online on their PS4. What was the number? We got some number recently that you reported on where
the majority of people apparently, or close to it, are still playing
and it was GTA Online, right?
GTA Online on PS4 still, yes.
And that's still the case with all these live service games. Fortnite, Call of Duty, all these big games. People are still just playing them on the hardware that just works. Because if that's all you're playing, you don't spend $500 to upgrade to a new system that will basically just enhance your load times.
Yep.
Because for those people, they might even still be playing a 1080p TV for all we know. So it hasn't been worth it for them to upgrade. But yeah, GTA 6 is going to be the one that gets those people in the door with these new consoles. So they'll probably see a bump there as well.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that on one of these shows, might have been on one of ours on GameS or something like that. But it's people, when they see a new console, what they they want new games. They're not going to buy new hardware for the same game running better. That is not how the vast majority of normal gamers operate. They expect there to be like new games you can't get anywhere else. And and when they're happy with the game they're playing, that's going to make it even harder to sort of make that argument. But
even with new games, as someone just mentioned in chat about Black Ops 6, something happened with that over the weekend, and hey, that's going to be on PS4.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, it's still going to be on PS4. Warzone is still on PS4.
If you can keep selling millions and millions of copies on those systems, that's why you keep them around.
And it feels like Call of Duty's kind of even waiting for Grand Theft Auto for that same reason. They're like, yeah, once a game like that comes out and everyone does upgrade, then yeah, we'll make a game that's just on these new systems. But we're looking at the numbers and we know that we can't do that to justify this massive behemoth. Exactly. And then there are other games doing that. College football was actually surprisingly one of them. It got a lot of people who were on the sidelines, anecdotally, I guess. But I hear this quite frequently. I've got a couple of friends who were saying, "What do I need to play this game?" And they went out and got an Xbox. They got a PS5. So there are going to be other games like that. But Grand Theft Auto 6 will be orders of magnitude bigger. Mm-hmm. And then Nintendo missed earnings. It was not too surprising. Now, a big part of like missing earnings versus like being down year over year, two different things. There was a certain level of a pace of sales that Nintendo told investors that they should expect. They didn't hit those, but also they were down year over year because the year previous had Zelda and the Mario movie, and that stuff was generating a lot of revenue for Nintendo. So they were also down year over year. But I think the kind of like more pointed issue is that it doesn't seem like they're necessarily going to hit their targets for selling as many Switch hardware units as they said they were going to. And I think people were like, from the beginning, are like, well, they're going to have to either have some games that we don't know about. And now it feels like we mostly do know about the games. And I think you and I both don't think that necessarily Metroid Prime 4, even if it were to come out in early 2025, be part of that this fiscal year somehow, that would be the thing that is going to get them over the top. Probably not.
Nah.
So what's left for them to do? I mean, price cuts? I'm still split on that. What do you think?
I really don't know, because I'm curious how much of what we know about Nintendo leaks out into the more mainstream audience, because we know at this point you don't buy Switch hardware because something new is on the horizon. And so that's why, people like us, and I was trying to remind the audience, like, hey, if you're listening to this right now, you're not the person I'm talking about here. Just friendly reminder.
Clearly.
But I'm curious, like, how many of those people, the normie friends we all have, are aware that this new console is coming, and so they don't buy that Switch Lite for their kids or whatever, their second console or whatever. When it comes to software, on the other hand, I don't know. It's just, we're hitting the end of the Switch's lifespan, so we only have so many games left in the tank. They only have so many games left in the tank. There's a lot of juice left in the tank over there at the game cent.
Yeah,
what
sorry.
is Dan doing to you right now?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to stop because I've never seen you make that face before.
Because it's terrifying. It used to be like he could do like one and then you have to wait for a little bit. All of them are going off back to back.
He fixed
constantly. He apparently says they removed the cooldown on the game set. This is like,
my God, who did he talk to?
Yeah, yeah, he like phoned up. I need to talk to the manager.
Yeah,
this is terrifying, Dan. It is not stopping. It is just going off consistently. Every single one is like spouted. Like they're not all six going off at the same time, but they are going off back to back without missing a beat.
The audience can't see it. There's a bottle of Prime just outside of frame. I'm wondering now if that's yours or if that's his calling card.
Yeah. I don't know anymore.
But anyways, it's only so much left to the Switch, so it makes sense that,
I'm not going to hold it up to the frame and put it right in my face, Dan. I'm about to unplug it. Like, I'm this close. We'll see. You better. You're playing with fire.
Maybe you should. You ever thought about unplugging it?
It's kind of incredible now watching it just go off without stopping. I'm kind of mesmerized by it. I feel like there was some other stuff I missed on Friday, but those were the big things. I don't know. Anything else stick out to you?
Games media news kind of on Friday.
Yeah, God, of course, yes. Game Informer closed down just out of nowhere. Devastating stuff. AI wrote that goodbye message clearly. Just nonstop horse shit. GameStop being shitty as hell. Big surprise.
Just bad company. Yeah,
just a bad company doing bad stuff. It's really frustrating, especially because I did just subscribe when they opened up subscriptions the first time, and it's like clearly GameStop's not even looking at that stuff. But at the same time, it's like I think they made enough money from that last like jump in their sales or their stock price when they sold a bunch of shares to pay for Game Informer to run for the rest of time. So it's very frustrating. It's like, well, no, we need to use that to shore up this failing business in every other way. It's like, man, you have one thing that people feel good about, Game Informer. This one thing that's like, here's a magazine that's still going in the United States, and you just gotta kick a bunch of awesome people out on the street, and they are awesome people. I really liked everyone from Game Informer. We would always have them over on GB at night. I would interact with them all the time on Twitter because I really like them a lot. I hope they're all able to stay in the industry because I think it's better with them. It sucks.
They're all very talented people.
Yes.
If anyone missed it, catch the Bombcast Revengeance that we did on Friday, because me and Jan, since everyone else was out,
dropped it. All right, it's unplugged. Okay. This room is more game set now than oxygen. So if I pass out, sorry.
Now we know why.
Yeah.
The Revengeance that me inject. Can't imagine why I'm derailed here this morning.
My bad, yeah.
The Revengeance we did on Friday, me and Jan talked all about this. Just me and him, because everyone else was out. We had a nice little one-on-one conversation. It was a delightful little time where we talked about this and just how much gaming magazines meant to us, coming from similar backgrounds, where that's maybe sometimes all you had. I definitely recommend that people go listen to that. It was a fun time.
Yep. I'm glad you guys were able to do that. That was really nice.
Yeah, it was nice. Also, I just saw this here. Someone put in the chat that apparently a little bit ago, the Game Informer staff put out their own goodbye on the Twitter account. So
good, yeah.
That's
I mean,
nice to see.
They can't put it on the website because GameStop immediately shut that down and turned it into a landing page instead.
I remember what I was going to say. Unless things have changed, you need to manually reach out to GameStop for a refund, or if you have an ongoing subscription, by the way, which is all kinds of fucked. They should just automate that, but
that is that feels like they don't care about like getting in trouble even, because that feels like something where a lot of people could get like sued for something like that. That feels like, and they just don't care because it's a really shitty company, GameStop.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some of these headlines then here. Let's start here. Avowed has been delayed until early 2025. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Microsoft has announced that the Xbox console exclusive Avowed has been delayed until early next year. Although an official release date had yet to be confirmed, Xbox had planned a 2024 release for the game, with a blog post by developer Obsidian seemingly accidentally confirming a November 12th release before it was removed. However, a message posted by the official Xbox account on Twitter has confirmed that the game will now release on February 18th, 2025. Accompanied with an image showing the upcoming first-party Xbox games, the message read, "So many games coming. As such, we're moving Avowed to February 18th, 2025 to give players' backlogs some breathing room." There's more to the message, but let's stop there, kind of talk about it a little bit. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the fall was getting a little bit crowded, but I wouldn't assume that like February is going to be some easygoing time for some games. So the game probably needed more time, right? That's what's really happening here, almost certainly.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, granted, it does seem like it's going to be a busy fall, so I wouldn't be surprised if that truly did play a factor into everything, of them saying, look, we're launching a new IP into this fall. Maybe we do give a little room to breathe, since the beginning of the year tends to be a better time for that right now. Yeah. I was just looking, I was like, okay, cool. Mike has Avowed in Fantasy Crick, so get fucked there, Mike.
Yeah, let's go.
That's another thing that we did on Friday, was we checked in on Fantasy Cricks. I have all this on my mind right now.
Yeah, I'm like, I plan to listen to that because I want to see how things are going and hear your guys' insights into it.
Yeah, that was a fun time too.
Yeah, good. We got to remind Bacalar and Lucy to check in on that so they don't get completely creamed.
Oh, and well, Bacalar has been making moves. He thank goodness for you're here. Yeah, he beat up both me and Jan. That's so he got like 18 points off of that or something like that.
Man, not bad. All right. Well,
yeah.
As for Avowed, I don't know. This is one where I'm like, I was never quite as concerned as some people seem to be, and I was never as high as like I know Mike's like, I think this looks pretty good, and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure yet. It's not like I think it's going to be one or the other. I'm just like trying to gauge something from the trailers. And this is one, like a lot of games, Sean. This is one I'm like, I think I need to play it before I really know anything, which of course that's how it works 95% of the time. But sometimes it's like, oh, that game just looks amazing. I know I'm going to love it. Avowed was not one of those. But I didn't necessarily think it was a fire waiting to, to start or something like that. But Xbox is kind of in a situation where I feel like they need to get these games from, maybe low 80s to mid 80s on that Metacritic. If you can have a couple that are like 86, 87 instead of like, 79 to 83. What do those numbers really mean? Whatever. People know what we're trying to get at when we say that kind of thing. They need that. They want to get a couple, like a string of hits, a string of successful games to justify the console, Game Pass, people caring about what Xbox says about other games going forward. It all comes down to delivering the games at this point. And if Avowed's close, you should be. I mean, I think what happened with like Hellblade 2 is they're like, this game is not like close to being the thing for everybody. So let's put it out, admit what it is. This is fine. But maybe
they realized while they were building the plane, maybe that they weirdly sort of misunderstood what that game was. I think all of us who played the original knew what it would be, and they were just like, "Oh, it's a beautiful game, therefore we can push it as this type of game." And then they really quickly had to be, oh no, it's not that kind of game. Shoot, right? And then something like Avowed has a better chance of doing that.
Exactly. So I hope this turns into that. And at the same time, there are a lot of games coming out this fall.
Like just give stuff room to breathe. If that means better polish, that's what every game needs right now, because these games are so big and so hard to make that anytime they can get the Pokemon World Championships are coming up here, and so some people are like, are we gonna get Legends ZA news, because they haven't been talking about ZA at all, and normally by this time in the cycle they would have talked about it. It's just 2025.
Just 2025. Okay.
Yeah, we're assuming it's early because that's when Arceus came out.
If that comes, we were talking about Nintendo in that first little catch-up segment. If that comes out in the first quarter and that's part of this fiscal year, that would still help, because Pokemon. I was thinking no Pokemon, but maybe that could help. But
yeah, they're gonna publish that, so that'll be my. But what I was getting at there is that there's like discourse over, we haven't heard anything about it, and it took someone saying, y'all think about it. The Pokemon Company, Game Freak, going radio silent on a game is the best possible thing for this franchise right now. Did you see Scarlet and Violet? So that's what I'm sort of getting at here with the state of the industry right now. Is just that every game could use a little more time, a little more polish. And if your reasoning is we're just not going to send out to die, we're not going to have a Titanfall 2 situation, then let's do that. Let's give it some room to breathe and get some polish in there too. Yeah,
that sounds just right to me. Nikki, who's also in the league, was wondering what the rules are on dropping games, and they asked if we could turn on dropping games. We have that to a certain extent, but it's like
it's if your game will not come out, you can drop it.
Yes, right.
So Nikki, you're stuck with a lot of those games, but there's an option in there somewhere for you to drop a ZA, I believe.
Yes, ZA. I think that's get rid of.
How we have it set up.
Okay, let's see here. Sega trademarks Yakuza Wars in Japan. This is from Sal Romano Gamatsu, who spotted this. Sega filed a trademark for Yakuza Wars on July 26th in Japan, which was made public today, and that was probably yesterday. While Sega has yet to announce a game with this title or subtitle, it could be related to the upcoming Like a Dragon game. The Like a Dragon series was previously known as Yakuza in the West. Also, I can't remember where it was, Sean, now, but they were talking, maybe it was China Joy even, I don't know. The team was talking, say, hey, we have something coming up and it's not what you expect. Well, I was not expecting maybe I'm assuming based on this title, a strategy RPG tiles based tactical game. I was not expecting that. And now that I have it in my head, God, I hope this is exactly that. And it's everything I want, because that sounds like a really good idea. I love like just positioning pieces on a board and having that stuff matter. And I think that this franchise has enough silliness to like make that really fun. Now, my question, do you think it would be you play Like a Dragon, right? And you played Infinite Wealth. Right?
Yeah, I played both of them. Yeah, I haven't finished either.
In Infinite Wealth and Yakuza 8, they have like the Pokemon battles, the creep battles and stuff like that. I think there's a chance maybe
Sujimon.
Yes, Sujimon. There's a chance maybe this is that, but I kind of hope it like actually just deals with the characters and tells a strategy RPG story with them or something like that. But right now, we don't really know at all what this is, and who knows when we'll find out. I guess there's probably a chance Tokyo Game Show stuff like that is happening soon. Do you think we'll probably hear about it there?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious what the whole project is in general. I think that would dictate when they choose to show it. I mean, frankly, what I'm looking forward to is Ichiban Kasuga and Sakura Amamiya meet Sakura Wars cross
That's
like a dragon.
Okay, that would be incredible. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Just do stupid crossover, Sega. That's what we want to see nowadays.
But Sakura Wars, you guys all like that because the story or because the tactics are fun?
Yes.
Hell yeah. Okay, I'll play it.
It's Fire Emblem. You like Fire Emblem.
I do. No, and I've been meaning to play it just because everyone I've ever talked to about that game seems to really like it.
Yeah. It probably is some kind of strategy game. This year, Like a Dragon has gotten weird enough. They completely changed the genre of the series midway through. So, I would not be surprised if they branched out into strategy in some way.
Yeah, and I think that this is a good sort of in between game. They've had this is a series that's long had a lot of in-between games between the main entries, and some have been successful, like the side stories, the ones where like, let's take these characters and put them in ancient Japan, and there's ones like here exactly. now these guys are dealing with zombies, and that one was less successful. I think that like what they could do is go into these other genres, maybe make these things even like a little bit smaller in scope, but you can change up the genre even more so it feels even further afield and feels even more special because of that. This feels like a good idea to me. So I hope it is all the things we're talking about. But either way, I'm kind of trusting this team right now. They're firing on all cylinders and delivering games at a rapid pace.
Definitely.
All right, there was a 5-minute Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom trailer that shows new locations and abilities. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Shoutouts to Chris. A lot of stories from him today. Nintendo has released a new trailer for The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. The trailer opens by showing some of the game's locations, including Gerudo Desert, Jabul Waters, Elden Volcano, and Farron Wetlands. And it then shows off the game's adventure log and how the main and side quests are saved to it as they're encountered. Other features shown in the trailer include quick travel waypoints and the ability to ride a very cute horse. The trailer also introduces smoothie shops, which are run by business scrubs, and that's not me this time. Zelda can use these to blend collected ingredients into drinks that have different effects. Zelda can also equip different outfits and accessories to change her abilities. These changes are also reflected in Zelda's on-screen appearance. They also showed off like new abilities like Bind, where you can connect yourself to like a giant boulder and move it. And then there's reverse bound or something like that. Reverse bond, where you can connect yourself to like a creature, and instead of you moving it, it moves you. And so there's a bird flying around. You connect yourself to that, and the bird will like take you to a place you couldn't otherwise get to, things like that. So just more layers on top of the puzzle solving than just using the wand to copy objects in the world and use those. Some of these objects you won't be able to copy, and instead maybe you need to use one of these features on it. It just sounds like, okay, a lot of possibility for very cool puzzles. So I'm excited about this. It looks pretty promising.
I'm scrubbing through the trailer here because I didn't catch this when it went live. First of all, this game looks gorgeous.
I think they're really so nailing it. I think Grezzo's doing a very good job. It's exactly kind of what I want from it.
Because this is just the Link's Awakening art style, and I did not like that applied to Link's Awakening because there's that dissonance in my head of like, I know what Link's Awakening is supposed to look like. I have for the past 30 years, longer than I've been alive. That game has been out, and I know how I expect that game to look, and so having that toy-like art style didn't really do it for me. But this game being made from the ground up, man, that art style looks so good in everything I'm seeing right now. But yeah, all the new abilities that they're revealing, that's good because that's what a Zelda game is using all these different powers, these different abilities to solve puzzles in unique and interesting ways. We thought that just the item duplication would be enough to represent all the different things you can do in Zelda, but seeing that there's almost like modern Zelda physics-y sort of stuff going on too, that's really cool.
Yep, it seems like there's a lot happening in the game, and I am Very, very excited. Yeah, Dan Reichert, who has famously trolled me about Link's Awakening, did say it's one of the best Game Boy games. He gave me that. Now he hates the Game Boy, so
yeah,
definitely
it's one of the greatest games ever made.
It absolutely is. It's so good.
What did he say? I was listening to Fire Escape, and he said something that was just bonkers. It was another it was another Hollow Knight situation, and I got so irrationally mad just walking back from Taco Bell.
Yeah, I definitely remember kind of feeling similar about something recently that he said. But I what can we do about it at this point?
No, not Kirby, Dan. I'm slightly with you on Kirby. I don't like Kirby that much. Yeah, I don't think it's bad like he does, but I just don't like Kirby.
Yeah, I got the game really. I hope, performance wise, it is I hope it's better than Link's Awakening, where that still has a few issues. Seems like streaming in the world, because the game doesn't have the cells like Link's Awakening did. It was all one stitched together world, and it felt like it was like getting ready for you to go to this other part, so it started streaming it in. Then you get some frame drops. If that's happening, I don't think we've seen a ton of that in these trailers, but they also probably wouldn't necessarily show that. So
right.
But yeah, God, I can't wait to get back into this world and play as Zelda. Actually, it's looking very promising. And this game is out in September 26th, I want to say, but maybe that's not right.
That sounds right. It should be in my calendar here. Yep, nailed it. September 26th.
Okay. Does Nintendo have an August game? I know we had
I don't have anything written down.
Okay, because Mario Party Jamboree is later. Is that October?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we noted that there was 1 month where they didn't have anything at one point during the year. I think it was August, and they haven't added anything to fill in that gap.
Okay. Well, still looking forward to this game quite a bit. Can't wait for it. All right. Bungie layoffs include senior execs Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy. This is from Timur Hussein at GameSpot. Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy, two senior executives at Bungie, were both part of the recent round of layoffs, according to a new report. Speaking on his Game Mess Decides podcast, Jeff Grubb confirmed that the duo were working on Payback, a new game set in the Destiny universe, but were let go as part of sweeping job losses at the now PlayStation-owned studio. Yeah, Payback was closed a few weeks back, basically, and then they were like, it's pretty well understood, it seems to me, that they were looking around like there is nothing left for Luke and Mark to work on. Their job titles were executive vice president, creative director, blah blah blah, comma, Payback. And then when that went away, it's like, well, they're not going to go take the job back that other people are working on Destiny now. And it's one of those situations where I think technically they left, but if you want to say they're fired or even laid off, it's kind of all the same thing at a certain point where it's like, hey, you sign this piece of paper and you get this package if you leave and all that stuff. But we need to get rid of you, essentially. So
okay.
It feels rough because to a lot of people that follow Destiny, Luke Smith is the one that got that game to where they wanted it originally, or is a big part of that, obviously. And it just feels wild to think of a future of Destiny without someone like that. But yeah, it is. It continues to be a mess over there. Bungie hasn't really said much. Luke Smith hasn't said much. Mark Noseworthy's not out there saying much. Now people are wondering, what does Destiny 2 look like? There is, some details about that we talked about on that show, where it's going to be smaller content packs, not expansion packs anymore, smaller experience packs, I think is what they're going to call them, something along those lines, 2 a year. They won't have the introductory single player tutorial sequence that introduces you to all the new stuff, and that's a brunt of the content that had happened before when you were paying for these things. So it's going to be smaller things instead, and then they're also going to keep having raids. They'll still have that, and of course they need that. But I don't know, Destiny 2's in a weird spot, and they're trying to thread this needle, and it feels like it's going to be very difficult to pull off. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when I was on the call with you when you broke this news the other night, our other friend Christian, who was on a call, noted, "Oh boy, scaling back Destiny 2 content. That's what that audience loves."
Yep, they're just not gonna want to hear that in any way, and that's what makes this so challenging, right? Because they think they need to do this because they got to make Destiny 2 a more affordable game to produce in an ongoing way. And at the same time, they got to keep fans spending money on that stuff. So you got to give them something that they want. But clearly, when they're looking at that spectrum, they are leaning towards the side of let's save money on how much this costs to produce. And at the same time, their major next project, Marathon, is apparently supposed to still come out next year, 2025. And so they're not working on Destiny 3. They had not been working on Destiny 3. They were working on Payback. Mm-hmm. That's no longer happening. But so their main things are Destiny 2, the new version of Destiny 2 going forward with these experience packs and Frontiers or whatever that's called, and then Marathon. And basically both of those things have to hit perfectly before they'll revisit like what the future of Destiny looks like. And if both those things hit, Destiny 3 or a follow-up or something like that could happen, but who knows?
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to keep all this straight because I'm just very much not in this scene at all. So I'm trying to a lot of this news people are like, oh yeah, we already knew about this thing. I'm like, I'm hearing about this for the first time. So okay, what was Payback?
So Payback was going to be the next big thing for Destiny is how I would describe it, but not Destiny 3. And it's clear now, and this is stuff that I couldn't really talk about, but now that Jason Schreier wrote his story, it's a little bit more easy to talk about it publicly. But it is a Genshin Impact inspired Destiny thing, where it was going to be third person, and you're going to be doing similar kind of things, but with characters maybe a little bit more actiony, things like that. Yeah, I know. Hey, I made the same face. I don't know. But they were like this, this was the Luke Smith game. Like this was the thing he was working on. So clearly they had big visions of this is going to be the thing that is going to take Destiny to maybe not the next level, but the next step in the future evolution of it.
Because as of the final shape, we are at the end of the promised 10-year Destiny plan, correct?
Basically, yes. Effectively, yes. That is correct.
Okay. Well, I don't know. In my head, I'm trying to think of did people expect more? Did people expect them to keep going beyond this? I
think a lot of fans were surprised to hear that Destiny 3 was never in development. I think that fans were expecting, listen, okay, if they are going to stick with Destiny 2, we do expect a certain level to continue to happen. Maybe not more, but we do expect a certain level of content to keep coming at us. And what they're hearing is you should expect less.
Okay. And because from where I'm sitting, and maybe it's just because this is another situation we talked about this morning, being too plugged in, knowing that this was the long-term plan for Destiny, and now it's we're coasting now because that's what we promised. This was the plan for Destiny. We wrapped it up. We're moving on to something else here. I guess it do people who are just coming to the game now, seeing it as a bit of a rug pull that this live service game is winding down, and I didn't expect that.
I think that people were like, well, we know Luke Smith's not working on this anymore, so we expect him to be working on something, probably Destiny 3. So they were definitely, everyone who's a Destiny fan was expecting something to be replacing sort of the
within
level.
the Destiny IP.
Within the Destiny IP at the very least. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how fans were viewing what was coming next. I don't know if they were necessarily thinking it would be Destiny 3 or something else like this game that is described by, that Payback is. But they were definitely expecting something. And now it's no, you better buy Marathon, because if that doesn't go well, shit's going to go real bad for
Yeah,
Bungie.
because to me, Marathon was a sign that the studio as a whole was looking to hard pivot. Maybe
it was not. They were not going to. It was not a hard pivot. It was in addition to. It was a thing that was going to be.
The intention was in addition to.
Yes, in addition to. Always. Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha.
And now it needs to stand on its own and be a whole other pillar, and it needed to succeed from the beginning. And now expectations are even higher. It needs to do a lot, but that's where sort of Bungie's been since the Sony acquisition of. Boy, expectations are very high, and all of that is due to, as I've heard it, P. Parsons basically telling tales to Sony to inflate the price so he can get a lot of money when the thing was sold.
Screw that.
Yep, and it's affected everybody, and of course, all those layoffs, as we reported last week. It's a real mess over there. Yeah, and there was more details on Payback. this, we'll just kind of hit this one real quick, and then we'll go to the next one, because it is effectively what we said, that it was like kind of going to be a Genshin Impact sort of thing. Let's see. It would allow players to use the franchise's characters to explore a large world while cooperating to battle monsters and solve puzzles, that sort of thing. So,
all right, you keep saying Genshin Impact, and I think this is reasonable for me to think like Destiny waifus. What do you just mean gameplay wise?
Gameplay wise, the structure of Genshin Impact, the structure of these mobile games that are also real big actual games. But that kind of keep people in there and kind of really can operate as the next. I mean, Genshin Impact to me feels like the next generation of live service game after Destiny. I kind of see absolutely. I see what they are thinking here, that we can't get left behind. We got to get on this ship as well, and we need to do it as soon as possible. In fact, maybe we should have the top team working on that. And that's kind of how it was going.
And I think some people don't realize how big those games have gone. Dude, I was at the laundromat the other day. I saw some dude playing Genshin on his phone.
Yep.
Like mainstream people are picking up these MiHoYo games and similar games, and they're digging them because it's such a low barrier to entry. It's a game that's on a device you already have. The quality is at least high enough that it can be your fill-in live service game. So it just, to me, we joke about it a lot, but the pull of those games is we have these really cool characters that you really care about, and
we shouldn't pretend that like the waifus is some like a byproduct over there. No, it's core to the experience for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much the thing where they lined it up. These characters are going to sell the game. Then really dedicated artists work hard on designing those characters, but that is always like what pulls you into the game. And this actually ties into something I saw in one of the chats here, where someone pointed out that why people would be sad to see Destiny go is because they've invested so much just time into this franchise that they don't want to see their attachment to these characters and stuff just sort of go up in a puff of smoke, let alone a literal money they've invested in the game. So I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know, just like you said, it seems like a mess. Just everything seems very messy over there, that they're trying to figure out how to move on to the next thing and are kind of throwing stuff at the wall.
I mean, that's the situation they put themselves in, because they had to meet certain milestones for Sony, and they really didn't have the things that they were saying that were going to enable them to get to that milestone. So they had to start making stuff up, basically.
And it's very important to note to people, like whenever we're talking about something super early in development here, all companies throw shit at the wall like this.
Every corporation, 100%.
Yeah, just with the the pedigree and the size and the what's the word I'm looking for? Just the expectations of Bungie. It just seems like maybe it's messier than the average situation.
It was one of Sony's biggest acquisitions, PlayStation now at this point. The studio, like I said before, gonna end up just being another PlayStation studio. But Pete Parsons still there, and Luke Smith not. I don't blame Destiny fans for being like, it's time to tune out. I really enjoyed the final shape, but maybe I should be done with this. I think a lot of people are going to be in that situation, and then it's up to Bungie to turn that stuff around, which has happened before. I think Star Wars: The Old Republic did a really good turnaround. Obviously, there's several other examples. There's World of Warcraft recently is kind of the best it's ever been, according to a lot of those fans, and that was after hitting a real low point in the last couple of years.
I mean, obviously, Final Fantasy 14 just became a different game.
Yeah, just completely making a new game there. So, right. And then the Final Fantasy 14 thing was not like, oh, there's like turmoil at the company or something like that, but it was like, no, this bad game became a good game.
There was, it's the no clip doc on that is really good. Right. Of like, there was like turmoil with the team and everything like that, but it felt like mismanagement, and they turned it around, and like any company can turn things around. It's just more of a situation of are the people in charge going to let the people with the actual skill turn things around.
Yep. All right. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, a few more headlines, including Half-Life 3. All right, let's get right into this next story here. The code name for a new Valve project has people thinking Half-Life 3 is real again. This is from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. I know, right? These fucking suckers.
It's 2010 all over again. Let's go.
Goddamn suckers. Half-Life 3 is a bit more of a meme than anything else at this point. While some are still clinging onto the faint trails of hope they once had, most have come to realize the game isn't coming out. Or is it? A recent website post, which has since been altered from voice actor Natasha Chandel, shows that Valve appears to be working on another project that isn't the hero shooter Deadlock. God, I forgot about that one. The codename for the project is White Sands, which is a park in New Mexico, the state where Black Mesa resided in. So does this confirm Half-Life 3? No, not really, but it does mean that Valve is working on something else, which could be, well, anything really. I don't blame people for going here, right? It's so easy to be like, well, what is a Half-Life related project that Valve could be working on? Well, Half-Life 3. They could be working on a new VR game or anything else, or something else in the Half-Life world, or it could be any number of things. Especially in my mind, where it's like, oh, it's a voice actor referencing it. That feels like it could be coming out soonish. Now that's not necessarily the case either. But I'll believe Half-Life 3 when I see it at this point, Sean.
I just learned about Deadlock just now. Okay, that's
Right.
enough. I'm learning so much on this episode, Jeff. But yeah, I don't know. Just mentioning Half-Life. God, I'm sorry. I have so many like trains of thoughts this morning, but we had another situation not too long ago where someone referenced something on their resume and it turns out they were just like confused or like, they were so detached from the project that they like, put the wrong thing. So I don't know. This is always a tricky situation, a loose thread to follow when it's someone references it on, like a portfolio and it's like, oh, I typed the wrong number or something could happen there. That's not a thing that happens commonly because obviously you want that to be as accurate as possible. But when someone references something in passing, it's
you can never be
trickier.
Sure. There are a little bit more details here from the GameSpot story. George Yang writes, now Valve expert Tyler McVicker, who runs like that Steam news channel on YouTube, has created a video explaining why he thinks Project White Sands could be the next fully fledged non-VR Half-Life game. He reported that another single-player Half-Life game was in pre-production around the same time as Half-Life Alyx, and the code name was HLX. Through data mining, Valve's sourced two projects and games like Dota 2 and Counter-Strike 2. Vickers said that the characters in Half-Life HLX wears an HEV suit and goes off-world to places with things like Xenogorillas and Pentatanks. He thinks that these were actually cut from Half-Life Alyx, but were still being worked on in some capacity. He also initially wasn't sure if HLX was just an engine feature or a file format for saves, but due to recent leaks from the voice actor, he believes that Project White Sands is the internal codename of HLX. Vickers finished the video saying that he thinks the project is in fact Half-Life 3. Back in 2021, Vickers didn't think Half-Life 3 was in development yet, saying that at the time the Steam Deck handheld was Valve's priority.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I think it's just as likely that the game is in development. Sure, yes, but it's Valve. They've developed this game before, and it never came out. So I think it's always kind of important to remember that this will not necessarily lead to something, but it could at this point. And I think there is an appetite at Valve to actually make this game. And I think they're maybe at a point where they're looking around like, hey, we are maybe looking for the technology, the physics or whatever to justify the game. Like the way we did with Half-Life 2, and then with the VR game, where it's like, this is new and in VR, and you're in first person, you're doing this stuff. There's a reason for this to be a big new Half-Life game. Maybe like the rest of the industry, they're looking around and be like, okay, we don't have to be completely revolutionary every time, but there's enough technology we can mess around with to make a very good game. And I think there's a chance that this could be it.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say, like, there's a lot of speculation going on here with, the loose threads we've been giving, but
Correct.
Tyler's track record is pretty good
Yes,
my
but
understanding. I've
for
watched a
Valve
couple
stuff.
of his videos,
Yep.
but yeah, he has like insider info there. So maybe that's one of those situations where he knows even more than he's letting on. And that's what's leading him to this conclusion here. So that makes me a little more hopeful that like something could be happening somewhere. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I guess we will see. The new Black Monday of the Japanese stock market plummets the shares of the country's major gaming companies. This is from Alberto Garrido at Game Reactor. We wouldn't normally talk about the stock market crisis that the markets woke up to this morning, were it not for the fact that it obviously also affects the video game industry. The fall of the Nikkei 225 index at the opening of Tokyo this morning saw a general market plunge due to fears of a recession in the United States. There was higher than expected unemployment in the United States in that last report, and people are pretty spooked by that. And rising tensions in the Middle East. They're expecting maybe a regional war as well that could break out into involve many other countries. So people are kind of concerned across the board right now. And this Black Monday has also been passed on to the country's big video game companies. Basically, Dr. Sirkin Toto, who is worth following, a friend of the site, he wrote, "It's Monday, 1:30 p.m. in Tokyo now. Investors in the stock market continue to panic and are causing a bloodbath. Nintendo was down 15%, Sega was down 13%, Capcom down 16%, Nexon down 13%, Cave down 23%, Konami down 8%, Sony down 6%, Marvelous down 10%, Cyber Agent was down 10%, Koei Tecmo down 6%, and Square Enix down 5%. And they still had 1.5 hours of trading to go. Now, a lot of this could bounce right back depending on the next, the big indicator from the U.S. economy. There's also still the rate cuts that are now very likely the next time that the Fed meets. If that starts happening, these things could turn around. So there's a chance that very quickly investors are going to look at what's happening right now and be like, oh, I'm going to get a discount on these things. These things, I'm going to buy this stuff now. And if that happens, this could bounce back right away. Or that recession that never came could be here. And it's, a bit, I don't blame people for being spooked right now. What this means for game companies is, hey, we're going to the holidays and people were already being a little bit more mindful of their wallets. That is something that for the most part, though, these companies didn't have to deal with, especially in the United States, because consumer spending had remained so high. It was definitely fueling most of the economy and has been for years and years and years now. And that has been way more resilient than anyone was expecting. At a certain point, people expect that the rubber's going to meet the road there, and people will start cutting back on spending. And video games seems like one that people have spent a lot on them in recent years, and maybe they'll pull back even more. So, yeah, these companies could get hit pretty hard if that happens. I don't know. Anything else to add to that, Sean?
This is definitely more in your wheelhouse. So I'm more just taking your observations here.
Yeah, the Fed meets in 3 weeks. Thank you, Hammond of Texas. That last one, there was they met a few weeks back, and people were like, hey, maybe they could cut the interest rates here now. And that always seemed a little bit unlikely because they want to make sure that inflation really is checked. And every other indicator up to that point was the U.S. economy is doing mostly just fine. Now there was, there's always counter indicators back and forth, but for the most part, people are feeling pretty good. This is the first one where it's like, oh, maybe it's not. And we might have missed the window to have that gentle, what they always talk about as a soft landing, is they know that by raising interest rates, the economy necessarily slows down. They want that to happen. They want wages to slow down in terms of growth and all that stuff. That's what they're going for. They are trying to hurt us a little now because it's a little bit of bloodletting, and maybe that benefits us in the long run because we don't have some hyperinflation, things like that that could really hurt. To get to end that process, they were looking for this soft landing of, all right, maybe we can get the plane to hit the ground. It's gonna crash a little bit, but if we can sort of skid, that'll be fine. And now it feels like they might have missed their opportunity for that, and we could have a little bit more of a rougher landing. And that won't be great for a variety of reasons, but it's clearly It's hurting video game companies right now in terms of the expectations from investors. Now, investors are all idiots, so this doesn't really mean much yet. Literally, every single one of them are just complete dipshits, but they have a lot of money, so it makes the markets go, and we'll see how this pans out.
Was the it was a Capcom one, right, where someone asked, why don't you just release Monster Hunter earlier to make more money?
Yep. They do ask those things. Yep, absolutely.
That's kind of investors you get, y'all.
Yep. All right, let's hit these last couple of stories here. The first footage from HBO's The Last of Us Season 2 has been shown. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The first footage from Season 2 of The Last of Us TV series has been shown. The footage was shown at the end of a montage of shows coming to HBO and its streaming service Max in 2024 and 2025. In the clip, Joel, played by Pedro Pascal, is asked, did you hurt her? By an unknown character played by Catherine O'Hara. Catherine O'Hara's going to be in the show. Okay, maybe I'll watch it. No, Joel replies. Then what? O'Hara's character asks, what did you do? I saved her, Joel says, as a tear runs down his eye. Oh man, I'm sure things are going to go just fine for this guy. I think everything's going to pan out exactly how he hopes. I'll just play this for people to see. Man, when I was a kid, HBO's like sizzle reels were the best edited thing you could ever fucking see, and they still are pretty good. But that's happening here. People who are watching the video version can kind of see them. Oh man, I forgot about this Penguin show. That's wild, man. Dune Prophecy as well.
What is media nowadays?
I
TV shows,
yes.
movies.
Yep, there was a
Coming
ton
up with some wild ideas.
Yep.
Jeff, I know how excited we both are to watch the Last of Us TV show because we love the games. It's just so darn much.
That's our personality for sure.
Did you see any of season 1?
No, not. I mean, okay. I didn't watch any of it. I'll say. I saw screenshots and the clips that ended up on the internet here and there. But no, I didn't watch it.
Okay. Yeah, I could not have less interest in watching. That's why I chuckled a little bit when it's like, I saved her. Just slowly tear runs down his eyes. Oh, come on, dude.
Yep.
It's so I'm just gonna let loose for it's so try hard. I hate how try hard The Last of Us is. They want to be these edgy motherfuckers. I'm sorry, it does not hit with me.
Yep, that's kind of how I feel about it as well. And I try not to begrudge anyone who does like it, because they're probably just not consuming the same media that has led me to that feeling, and that's completely fine.
I ain't trying to yuck yums. Like, I used to work with someone who was a huge Last of Us fan. I was like, dude, have your thing. That's cool. I'm just going to be over here very much not consuming.
And I bet the show's got a lot of great acting. There's a lot of great performers in there that I really, really like. So I hope people enjoy it. I am going to be very, very curious to find out how non-gaming fans, non-Last of Us fans react to how this season's going to go down. And
it just seems like such a... Yeah, it's always felt so weird to me that, the games are trying so hard to be a cinematic experience. Like the concept of doing a TV show adaptation has always been odd to me, but sure. I guess it is, just to reach that audience who would never even imagine of picking up a controller. It's clearly worked. It's a show that people hold in high regard, and it helped the game sell. So just across the board, it has worked. Like at a certain point, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is why they do it. It has worked. And I guess I kind of, I figured it would, but you're right. Like when I think about it from a very narrow perspective of, do we need this? I don't always end up with like, well, clearly we do that, but that's not why anything gets made. I see someone saying my parents liked season 1 of The Last of Us. So you know what? Yeah, those probably were people who weren't ever going to play the game. So yeah, exactly. That's exactly why they make it.
Yeah. And it's, it is, the games are very similar to the prestige TV shows, and I feel this way about all prestige TV shows. So when we say it's
which is basically just that's the reason we don't like it.
Right. And that's why when we say like stuff like try hard, I kind of have that sense about all TV shows.
I very much mean that it's like, oh, that awkward sex scene in The Last of Us Part 2, that was very necessary and very much contributed. No, you didn't need to do that.
Yeah,
like that's what I'm talking about.
They're just doing it because they see it on TV. That's how.
Because they see it on TV. That's what it feels like. Yeah.
An open world Patrick Star game is leaked for Nintendo Switch. This is from My Nintendo News.
Real video game
and a real TV show. It would appear as though a new open world 3D platformer based upon SpongeBob SquarePants' Patrick Star is on the horizon, and it is coming to the Nintendo Switch family of systems. The game leaked via gaming retailer, Igabiba, and was discovered on social media platform Twitter. The retail listing has since been removed, but we should expect an official announcement soon, perhaps at Gamescom this month. There's some details here, but it's going to be a Patrick Star game, and the cover has him doing the big starry eyes and stuff like that. And they're doing this recently. They just released a Sandy Cheeks movie on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's like, and that done in the new like CGI style of one of those movies and stuff like that. So
Right.
they're investing continuously in SpongeBob, and it's like a kind of, they're trying to like spread out, make a SpongeBob cinematic universe a little bit. It feels like.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. Is like, did Patrick get his own movie recently or something that I didn't know about, or is it this kind of just come out of nowhere?
Yeah, so I don't know if there's a Patrick movie. It feels like there probably, if there isn't now, there probably will be. I was we were at the exchange and we were buying like old games, but they have a huge like old DVD section, and I got the DVD player in the minivan, and they had a bunch of like SpongeBob stuff. That I'm like, oh, there's way more of these smaller movies than I realized. I'm like, I know about the David Hasselhoff movie and the recent CGI movie, but it's like there's older ones that were probably like TV specials and things like that.
Right.
And they probably are doing a variety of things across all kinds of scopes. Either way, like SpongeBob clearly is a cultural like force, and I'm glad that they keep kind of turning to this. Now, there's been a lot of SpongeBob video games, and there's like maybe 1.5 that are held in any sort of respectable regard by most people.
It's like what, Battle for Bikini Bottom, and then people kind of like the follow-up or something like that.
The follow-up is kind of my sense of it. I didn't play that one. But
I've never been into SpongeBob. I just didn't grow up with it. And then,
I didn't either until I had kids. So, yep.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you've been sort of getting caught up there because kids like it.
Yeah,
and
I really enjoy it.
Obviously, you're going to buy them both a Squidward in the near future here.
I'm going to get a Squidward. It has happened because when they went to Walmart with the family when I was at SummerSlam, Emmy got a Bluey. And it's like, well, I was going to get Bluey and Squidward at the same time, so that has happened. I mean, Addie got something as well, but she didn't get her Squidward. But I'm just going to sneak you a Squidward. Yeah,
this example right here of, like, I clown out Last of Us just because, it's punching up. It's definitely punching up.
Exactly.
With SpongeBob, it's one of those things where all my friends like grew up with it, and so they quote it all the time. It's just never been a thing for me. Just like the sense of humor, like I never had a desire to get into.
It's just too funny, right? You can't enjoy something like that. Yeah.
I don't mean this in like as a derogatory thing, but it is very like juvenile humor.
Yes,
and there's nothing
100%.
wrong with that.
It's silly.
Like there's a space for
slapstick.
that.
Yes,
it's very slapstick, very silly. This is an example of one where I'm just like, oh yeah, I get SpongeBob. I just don't necessarily like watching it, but the concept of a Patrick Star game, like open world game, that alone is funny enough of a concept to me that I would maybe even check it out, not even liking SpongeBob.
And there's a part of me that's always liked like the idea of kids games and the games based on popular kids IPs. It's like, man, what is this like? Like, is this like any fun at all? And sometimes there's something there. They can be, exactly. And I'm like, I'm glad they're just making these. And part of me is really relieved that they continue to make games like this for kids. So
if nothing else, it'll just be a lighthearted romp that's just like, very straightforward, and you don't have to think too hard about it. You can just have some silly fun. Right.
And the kids will like be like, this does look like the Bluey show. And this is, hey, look, I recognize these kids from Paw Patrol from when they still cared about Paw Patrol and stuff like that. And now it's like, hey, they like SpongeBob and they're getting more games like that. So fantastic. All right. That does it for the news headlines. I've got the poll coming up right here. Let me just refresh real quick. There it is. Okay. Do you think the next Battlefield should be free to play? 57% said no. 43% said yes. So I think fans are like not quite sure what would be the best for the future of Battlefield. But I think enough people are like, I want Battlefield to continue to be Battlefield. I think the reality is they're going to get both. They're going to get a free to play like mode, and they're going to get a $70 game that has a campaign.
They're going to bring Firestorm back. Is that?
They have to do something. And they've got a lot of catching up to do with the rest of the industry, especially with Call of Duty. And they've always been trying to catch up to Call of Duty, and Call of Duty kind of is always separating itself more and more from Battlefield. But they need some free to play thing.
I was listening to you guys talk about this the other day, and I think Call of Duty does have a good model with it, where Warzone is the free-to-play thing. It is the battle royale that you expect, but it has like enough traditional Call of Duty in it that it's sort of like it gets you to scratch that itch a little bit. But then you want more. And so then you do go over and you buy the $70 product that they also want to keep selling. I think that's how they are getting best of both worlds. They are having their cake and eating it too. And I think that's what that's what Battlefield is setting themselves up to do.
Yep, absolutely. All right. I have a new poll question that we will get to here in a second. Before we do that, Sean, why don't you tell people what we have going on the internet, what you have going on, where people could find you, all that good stuff.
As always, I'm on Twitter at TurboShawn_. You can find me doing stuff here at Giant Bomb. I'm finally getting caught up on a bunch of stuff so I can get around to like editing the Evo video. I like sorted through footage and everything. Now I just have to actually do the bulk of the editing. Like I shouted out earlier in the episode, I think the episode BCR that me and Jan did on Friday is a great listen, and people have like know the same thing. So I think definitely go give that one a listen. And I guess we're gonna figure out what we're doing the rest of the week here.
Yep, we're gonna go figure that out in a couple of meetings that have in fact already started. We'll get all that up on the site on Twitter and stuff, so everyone can be looking out for all those good things. One thing for sure, we'll have a bombcast tomorrow, and we'll talk about a little bit of like SummerSlam, but also just hanging out. We went to 16-bit and Pens, and I mostly dominated. All right, like
bowling.
Maybe not bowling. Maybe everything except for that.
Oh, yeah, I'm wondering what you're talking about here. Okay.
There were a bunch of games. There was like a sit-down table where each person sits on one side, and then there's a full-size soccer ball in there, and you just like all you can do is kick. And we played that, and we did like a round robin, and I played against everybody, and then there's this like game where like you have these like flimsy circles. You have to throw on these hooks on the wall, and me and Mike teamed up and went against Tyler Gardner, who is an industry person, and Dan. And we played bocce ball. And
that's what you guys are posting about.
Exactly. And then we did play Pens mechanical bowling, which is like the small ball bowling, which was a lot of fun. And the place was hopping. Mm-hmm. We played Pac-Man. We did a championship of Pac-Man, who can get the highest score. So I'll give you all the results on Bombcast tomorrow, because we'll talk about it there. And I want to rub some stuff in some faces a little bit. So that'll be a good time. And then Blight Club should happen this week. There's a real good chance I could beat that game. And if we do, we will tease what is next for Mike. We'll probably say like what platform we're going on and things like that. I'm really looking forward to it. Me and Dan were kind of talking, doing some research, and we found something we're pretty happy with. And we even got Jerem already working on the art for it and stuff like that. Ooh. So yeah, we were kind of cracking up looking at this game. So I'm excited. No, I don't want to build it up too much, but it should be a good time. All right. New poll question. Do you think we'll ever get Half-Life 3? Yes or no? That'll be on youtube.com/@GiantBomb. Go to the community tab there. Vote there. Vote with your heart, I suppose. Let's see what's inside of your soul for Half-Life 3. And then anything else, the rest of the week we'll have most of the normal stuff. I'm sure we'll get some other surprises in there, but look out for UPF, look out for BCR. Maybe we'll be able to record a Power Bomb cast if we can sneak some time away. A voicemail dump truck will happen. Look out for all that stuff as normal. Sean, thank you for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, always a fun time coming on the show, Jeff.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye. And yummy like a gummy bear.